Zoning Board meeting. Thank you for joining us tonight. I now call this meeting to order. All board members, staff, and applicants are participating in Cary's council chambers. Our board clerk, Julie Mitchell, will now take roll call for this evening.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, the following board members are present: Mike Roselli, Jessica McClure, Chris Johnson, Stephen Crutchfield, Don Hamilton, Jeff Moncrief, and Andy Coe. We're missing 2 board members, Mary Jo Hill and John Sorrell.
Thank you. The Cary Community Plan will continue to be the guiding document for this board. Our role is to function as citizen advisors to the town council, who will make the final decision on all rezoning activity. Your citizen opinions based on the Cary Community Plan document are a very important role in advising our town leaders. While this is a public meeting, it is not a public hearing. There will be no opportunity for the public to speak during this meeting. If you have comments about any of the cases, we encourage you to reach out to the staff case manager or the applicant by email or phone. You may reach out to the board members through email. You may also contact the council directly through email or during the public speaks out portion of any regularly scheduled town council meetings. These meetings may be streamed live on the Town of Cary website and will be posted to YouTube within a few days following the meeting. All past Planning and Zoning Board meetings are also available to view on YouTube. The first action will be the approval of tonight's agenda. Would someone make a motion for that, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Someone second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The next item is a motion to approve the November 28th meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review those, and if there's not any issues or questions, would someone make a motion to approve the last meeting minutes?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Someone the second?
Second.
Thank you.
That's fine.
All opposed, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
We need to redo that.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Let's do that one more time. I didn't hear. So all in favor of approving November 28th meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. They're very good. Any opposed? Thank you. That carries. We only have one case tonight. But before we do that case, I do want to make a quick announcement from one of the board members. Jessica?
I just wanted to let you know that the company I work at did do the traffic study for this case, but I was not involved in the traffic study, so I will be uninfluenced by that.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know, and that really won't present a conflict for us. The first case this evening is 22 REZ 15, Swift Creek Elementary School rezoning, but along with that, we have an Act 30 Comprehensive Plan Amendment. Heather Wheelahan, Senior Housing Planner, will share the staff's presentation, and following the presentation, the applicant will share their remarks, and all board members will have an opportunity to ask questions. Welcome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And good evening, Board. This is a request to rezone over 27 acres at 5701 and 5417 Tryon Road from the current zoning of Wake County Residential Watershed R40W to Cary zoning O&I CU, Office and Institutional Conditional Use, to permit the rebuilding of Swift Creek Elementary School and additional Wake County school facilities. Fast forward to our first slide here. This proposal is accompanied by Act 30, a comprehensive plan amendment to apply initial future growth framework map designation to the eastern property and include adjacent sections of Tryon Road and Yates Mill Pond Road to the planned roadway widths map. The properties are located along Tryon and Yates Mill Pond Roads, just east of Campbell Road. As you may recognize, this is Swift Creek Elementary School on Tryon Road. Swift Creek Elementary was originally built in 1930, and Wake County Public Schools has added on and renovated various parts of the building over the years. At this time, they are ready to completely redesign and rebuild the elementary school. This rezoning and the associated annexation would facilitate the new school and allow Wake County Public Schools to plan for future facility by permitting access to Cary water and sewer. The properties are also subject to the Swift Creek Land Management Plan. In the late 80s and early 90s, Cary participated in a coordinated effort with Wake County and the cities of Raleigh, Apex, and Garner to develop the Swift Creek Land Management Plan. This plan manages development within the watershed to protect water quality, natural vegetation, and buffers. In 2019, Wake County initiated an amendment to the Swift Creek Land Management Plan that changed the land use classification for the 12.19 acres at 5417 Tryon Road from rural to new urban. Connection to municipal utilities is not permitted in the rural designation, but is permitted in the new urban classification. So amending the Swift Creek Land Management Plan was the first step toward rebuilding on this site and connecting to Cary utilities. The 2019 amendment to the Swift Creek Land Management Plan was approved by Cary in 2021. It was also approved by Raleigh, Apex, Garner, and Wake County. No changes to the current Swift Creek Land Management Plan are being proposed with this rezoning. Cary's GIS map indicates a small portion of the site's southwestern property boundary abuts a potential stream buffer. Determination will be made at the time of development plan review. Cary's planned roadway widths map does not include the Tryon Road and Yates Mill Pond Road street segments that front these two properties. The comprehensive plan amendment associated with this request will add these segments to the map. This section of Tryon Road is currently a 4-lane divided roadway with sidewalks on both sides within a 115-foot right-of-way. The proposed thoroughfare cross-section is a 6-lane median divided roadway with a 125-foot right-of-way. This section of Yates Mill Pond Road is currently a 2-lane divided roadway without sidewalks and within a 95 to 105-foot right-of-way. The proposed thoroughfare cross-section is a 4-lane median divided roadway with a 100 to 115-foot right-of-way. Typically, frontage improvements would be required to be provided by the applicant. However, since North Carolina state law requires either Cary or NCDOT to reimburse Wake County Public Schools for such improvements, staff will confirm the need for road widening at the time of development plan review. If frontage improvements are necessary, staff will look for opportunities to complete these improvements in collaboration with Wake County Public Schools and NCDOT. Go Cary Route 1 serves Jones Franklin and Tryon Roads approximately 15 feet west of the subject property. And the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Resources Master Plan does not propose any parks or greenways within or adjacent to this site. The Walnut Street Street Side Trail is located approximately a quarter-mile west of the site. This street side trail has connections to the Spite Branch Trail and the proposed Campbell Greenway. The PRCR Master Plan proposes a future park site about 0.7 miles to the west. Both properties are currently zoned Wake County Residential 40, Watershed R40W. Wake County Schools proposes to rezone to ONICU, Office and Institutional Conditional Use, and Watershed Protection Overlay, Swift Creek Subdistrict. The applicant has proposed to limit development at 5701 Tryon Road to elementary school use with a maximum capacity of 500 students, and limit development at 5417 Tryon Road to school, preschool, trade school, governmental office, public athletic field, library, community garden, concealed or stealth communications facility, or non-stealth communications facilities on a building or structure. Regardless of the ultimate use, the development at that site may not exceed the traffic equivalent of a middle school with a maximum capacity of 400 students. As you can see, Cary's future growth framework map designation for the school site is Destination Center. The future growth framework map does not include the eastern property. Act 30, the companion comprehensive plan amendment, will apply an initial development designation to 5417 Tryon Road. This amendment addresses a change in the comprehensive plan assumptions regarding development and utility provision at the edges of municipal boundaries. Additionally, the amendment is necessary to address the new opportunity for the development of a Wake County Public Schools facilities to serve our citizen population. We reviewed the future growth framework designation for properties adjacent to the site, as well as the Swift Creek Land Management Plan and the Raleigh Comprehensive Plan. The proposed future growth framework map destination center designation would extend the existing Cary Community Plan designation and be compatible with a land use plan of neighboring jurisdictions. Civil and institutional uses such as those in this proposal are incidental use types in destination centers. Since these properties are on the easternmost edge of this destination center area, the uses proposed provide a good transition between the commercial centers and the adjacent residential neighborhoods. Act 30 will also amend Cary's planned roadway widths map to include the Tryon Road and Yates Mill Pond Road street segments that front the two properties. Work, shape, engage, and serve policies of the Imagine Cary Community Plan are most relevant to this request. This proposal furthers the work chapter by supporting a sustainable and diverse workforce and promoting high-quality education. In terms of the shape chapter, the proposal facilitates the redevelopment of an aging school and future Wake County Public Schools facilities while capitalizing on existing nearby water, sewer, and road infrastructure. Additionally, the proposed civic and institutional uses provide a good transition between the heart of the area's commercial centers and the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The Swift Creek Elementary School gymnasium was identified by Cary's Historic Preservation Commission as a property with potential historic interest. Cary's Historic Preservation staff coordinated a site visit with Wake County Public Schools and Capital Area Preservation to assess the building. The original 1930s school on this site, known as the Swift Creek Consolidated School, served African American students and has since been demolished. The gym, built in 1956, bears resemblance to other structures of the post-World War II era and has original brick, windows, floors, and trusses. Cary staff provided Wake County Schools with this assessment, and staff is continuing to assess the historic significance and work with Wake County Public Schools to pursue preservation, historic preservation interests. Staff facilitated a virtual neighborhood meeting in July. 13 citizens attended. Comments and questions included those regarding annexation, whether addressing or street name changes would be involved, an overall construction timeline, questions about watershed standards and impacts on well water, and the location of the school's water and sewer connection. There was one email inquiring about sidewalks around the school and no calls. A public hearing was opened at the October 27th council meeting, and due to returned mail from a printing error, we continued the hearing to the November 17th meeting to ensure that all citizens had the opportunity to participate if so desired. At the October meeting, there was one written comment and one in-person speaker. The comments included concerns with traffic and safety and potential loss of recreation space, potential screening to adjacent subdivisions. Council asked questions regarding the right-of-way along Tryon and Yates Mill Pond roads, traffic study assumptions on both properties, the current capacity of Swift Creek Elementary, and discussion was had about the opportunity for Cary and Wake County to collaborate and potentially have some public recreation space on the eastern parcel. No speakers or comments were at the November meeting. There have been no changes since the public hearings. And staff's preliminary finding is that the amendment is necessary. This is regarding Act 30. That the amendment is necessary to address a change in the comprehensive plan assumptions regarding development and utility provision at the edges of municipal boundaries, and the identification of the opportunity for the development of new Wake County Public Schools facilities to serve the citizen population. Staff's preliminary finding in regards to the rezoning is for consistency with the Cary Community Plan. Staff found that the request is most supportive of the Cary Community Plan's work, shape, and serve policies. The proposal supports the work policy by supporting the growth of sustainable workforce and promoting a high-quality education. The proposal supports redevelopment of an aging school and capitalizes on public infrastructure. And the proposal addresses the issue of providing water and wastewater service as Cary's population grows. It also supports the provision of municipal services to educational development that will benefit Cary as well as our other regional citizens. This concludes my presentation. Ms. Betty Parker from Wake County Schools is here this evening to speak with you, and following Ms. Parker's comments, we'll both be available for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be before you again. Happy holidays, and I'm sorry we're all here for one case, but we sure do appreciate your attention. This particular site where Swift Creek Elementary is has been an educational center in the Cary area for 90 years, and we're looking forward to continuing it. We did a major replacement about 40 years ago, and it's time. In order for us to provide the equitable educational learning environment that's up to current standards, we need to do a tear down and replace of this. And to do that effectively, the annexation and zoning is necessary. The one piece I would add that Heather didn't touch on, just out of curiosity, we did have some questions about the provisions of utilities. One thing that's really interesting about this project is that there's currently a force main sewer line that comes from Yates Mill Pond Elementary up and includes Swift Creek Elementary, and then continues a couple of miles away to the Jones Franklin Road pump station. As part of our discussions with the Swift Creek Land Management Plan and the earlier discussions here, it's our intention with this program to take that effluent from Yates Mill Pond through the Swift Creek site over to a new manhole at Campbell Road that will forward that to a completely different pump station. This came out of discussions with Town of Cary staff and City of Raleigh staff about the need to let some of those older lines be abandoned and more effectively utilize the utilities available. So it's not just that we're using utilities that are available to us. We're taking several thousand linear feet of this force main out of existence and going directly into gravity feed into a different pump station. So we think that balance is very beneficial for everybody. Beyond that, I don't want to belabor this by getting too far in the weeds. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. We would appreciate your support and welcome your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now is the time for board members to ask questions of the staff and applicant. And we will start with Andy. Any
Okay.
questions?
Yeah, one more curiosity than anything. On the property on 5417 Tryon Road, there's a little, like, almost a rectangular little carve-out. Just out of curiosity, what is in that space that you're kind of surrounding there?
That's a residential house and lot. We acquired an assemblage of 7 parcels from the Warner family. This is a relative of the Warners who just wasn't ready to move.
Okay,
We offered to acquire it, and I think if things change as development nears, we're still open to that. But he just simply was an unwilling seller at the time.
okay. So obviously you'll be able to work around that without any major issues?
Yes, sir. There's not a immediate pending project on the eastern piece at 5417. The more immediate project is the renovation of Swift Creek Elementary. If things progress as we hope, we're looking to begin construction in January of '24 with an opening for the fall of '25.
Okay,
So we've got time.
okay, very good. Most everything, I think, is fairly straightforward. The one other question I had was regarding the road widening. It seemed like not necessarily kicking the can, because, I mean, if it needs to get widened, someone will have to pay for it, but it seems a little open-ended. Can someone maybe help define how that's sorted out if the road does need to get widened?
Yeah, and my colleague Priyatham Kanda is here from Transportation in
boy.
anticipation of speaking to
Oh,
that,
good.
so I'm going to call him up.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening. So like Heather mentioned in her presentation, we will look at it closely at the time of development plan. But at the moment, the way our LDO requirements are laid out is, any development comes in, they are required to make the frontage improvements. In this case, if the school makes the frontage improvements, obviously we or NCDOT would have to reimburse them.
Right, okay.
So
Okay.
did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I had a,
We're leaning towards getting everything done.
Okay.
Hearing the presentation from council last time, we want to set this up in the safest manner we can.
right,
So we're probably going to get everything done and reimburse the school. And that's kind of where we're leaning towards right now. But we'll have to see the development plan and see what's the best thing to do.
right. And I guess with it being open-ended as to not knowing specifically what's going to go on the property, right? It's still up in the air as to,
Yeah, right now, we're only talking about the property in the southwest corner.
Right,
The
that's
property
what I
in the southeast corner, once we have a better indication on what would go on there, we'll be able to make a decision on
okay,
that.
okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had one too, more of an educational, but about the historic preservation and the assessment there of the gymnasium. It's hard to believe that something in the 50s now is 85-plus years old, so, it does have that significance. Just, could you elaborate a little bit more on how that will be determined and when that determination might be made?
Well, as I said, capillary preservation and our own Cary's own historic preservation program manager joined us with Wake County Schools on a site visit and identified it as a gymnasium that served the school that was there. And Wake County Public Schools we've continued conversations with them in our historic preservation program to document the building and consider those discussions about if there could be other preservation possibilities. So that discussion is continuing and is in conjunction with our historic preservation planner and board here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do think this is a great thing. I will just say anecdotally, as a dad who coached soccer there for about 8 years, the neighborhood being aware of and maybe having access to some stuff across the way, because I know that area gets used pretty heavily by the community. And so during transition, I think the idea to allow some on the eastern property is one that has some merit. No other questions, though.
I had the same roadway question, and this is for staff and maybe even legal. I wish I could remember the case. We had one recently where we could not oppose a rezoning if the roads weren't going to be expanded or additional roadways. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, your idea is roughly correct. It's the way the General Assembly has passed that and related laws. You can't use that as the reason to not do that. But as Priyatham said, in this situation, it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. But the gist of it is we can require roadway improvements generally. However, if the school board or the school system is the property owner, we cannot require them to pay for it, and we have to pay for it. And so that's the gist of what Priyatham was speaking about. And yes, there is if you all are thinking, if that is your one hang-up, let's have some conversations. But if not, we can,
Not a hang-up.
your memory of it is accurate. So I'm glad that you're thinking about that.
I may quote you on that because I
Yeah.
don't remember much.
Well, you have a gold star so far. Sorry. A+? Is that what we're doing now with this school? Whatever the grading
I'll take
rubric
either
is,
one.
it's high. It's
Either
high.
one's good.
Smiley face.
That's all I have.
That's it. Chris?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this project done, but do have a couple other questions. With respect to the improvements on the frontages, if for any reason the widening was not done at this time, how would the sidewalk and connectivity be to the surrounding parcels? Is that going to be done regardless of the road improvements?
So there's already sidewalk on Tryon Road, there's not sidewalk on Yates Mill, and so I don't believe, and Priyatham, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that we're not going to pursue a sidewalk project separate from the road improvements on Yates Mill. But I know that part of our sidewalk gap program we've looked closely at this area to kind of identify down Holly Springs Road and down Campbell Road, the gaps that exist, and there are some of those projects that are currently on our sidewalk and funded projects. So directly in front of Yates Mill and Tryon, those will get done when the road gets done.
And then I saw something about one of the comments concerning screening of adjacent subdivisions. Was that the middle school parcel on the east side?
Yeah, those were residents on the east side, just, inquiring about the buffering and the screening that would be happening on any development. And, that's where our development LDO standards would apply. And they're not asking, they're not offering anything different than that. So our standards in terms of the screening that would be typically required for commercial, whatever that use ends up being, would apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Okay, Jessica?
With regard to the recreation space, I just want to clarify that the current property that the school's on also contains the community center and soccer fields, as Jeff was mentioning.
Basketball courts, some other.
Okay, and that would all potentially be impacted?
Okay. What you're referring to is what's known as a school park. About 40 years ago, Wake County collaborated with us, not only on this site, but on a number of sites across the county to help provide recreational opportunities. So they came in and added some infrastructure there that's been a community park. It's at its lifespan now, and we've had to close the tennis courts because of their condition and safety and fear of liability. So
Sure.
we're having similar issues with some of the other structures. So because of the changes in how the school will be designed now versus when it was built, we need every acre. So in order for us to have the on-site stacking space needed to be sure we clear that off of Tryon Road and to be sure we provide all the stormwater measures that weren't required back in the day when the school was built, it takes every bit. So all of that area will be taken into account. We'll still have our typical multipurpose field with a walking track around it that the students use, but those other amenities are not typical for an elementary school anyway. So we're coming back with the same standard that we would anywhere in Wake County.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm assuming if we don't have it already, we're getting the full right-of-way for both of these roadways?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct, and that's part of the objective of amending the planned roadway widths map.
Okay. That's all I got.
No further questions.
Okay. I have just a question on the uses. I'm not even going to ask you what a stealth communication facility is, but I will ask, if towers are involved, would that be included in what would possibly be approving tonight, or would that be another request somewhere down the road?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do have a slide that shows, let's see if I can get us to the right place, that shows there are a number of different categories of telecommunications facilities in our use, in our LDO. And so we went through each of those to identify which of the ones Wake County Schools has used on other properties that they would actually be planning to use here. So it's not just any communications facility, it's these two particular categories. And concealed stealth communications facilities are these slick sticks, we call them, which is the one that's in the middle. And then faux pines, those would be things that would be in that concealed category. And then the other one, non-stealth communications facilities on structure, that would be like ones on athletic field lights, on the side of an existing building. So not what's behind Town Hall, that would be in a different category. So not a freestanding tower that's not stealth, that would not be permitted. But these are the types of things that would be included or permitted in those two categories. And those are things that Wake County Public Schools has used at other educational facilities in the area.
But would these be used by the county, or would this be towers that would be used by a cell provider?
They could be used by a cell provider, yes. And, our LDO and state and federal regulation is there's a pretty dense part of our LDO that governs the development standards around these, how tall they can be in relation to the property lines, and all of those standards would apply. But the user of who's going to be receiving the signals, is that what you mean?
Well, no, it just would be, is it going to be, because I see two different things. If it was the county, they probably wouldn't use some massively tall tower like a AT&T or a T-Mobile would have. But these look like something that a T-Mobile or an AT&T would have, which can be, to your point, tall. And I just was, you know, I don't know that the neighborhoods and people around got this part. Not that they would object, but we don't see this very often, where you've got a tower being kind of potentially tucked in.
Yeah, well, and I'll go, it's, again, a little bit dense, but our LDO does have pretty specific regulations that are going to limit the height relative to the property lines. And so, you know, you'd have to spend some time sketching that out, but there is some, you know, just limitation on how tall it could be based on the size and shape of the property and the fact that it borders residential property. So, you know, they're going to, you know, whatever they're going to put there in either of these two categories is going to have to meet all of these regulations. So we feel, you know, confident that the LDO has adequately regulated these in a way that we are supportive of these, both of these categories as potential uses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the only other, this is really more of a comment, it was back, I know these two properties are not really connected, but after listening to some of the board members talking about some of the recreational uses and maybe what would happen, I hope that in the future that there's going to be a really hard look taken at crosswalks over there because, you know, I'm thinking parking or whatever, but, you know, down in the future, I could see whether there's a middle school there or a building, they'll be connected. People will park, I mean, you know, there'll be people crossing, and that is not a very safe area. I know
Yeah.
we've got plenty of time to do it, but that just, hopefully that'll figure prominently in your planning.
Yes, most definitely. And that was a point of discussion that the council raised as well, to make sure that the crosswalks were considered and that there might be interaction between those two sites eventually. I don't think that's planned right now.
Right.
But, you know, if the school site develops and then the other site develops later and that contemplation changes, certainly that would be a part of what we would be looking at in terms of where safe crossing would be possible or necessary.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, in that case, before we call for a motion, I just want to go over what we have tonight. We actually have 2 motions and 2 votes. So the first motion would be for the comprehensive plan amendment, then we'll vote on that. And then the next motion would be on the actual rezoning, and then we would vote on that. So would someone make a motion for the comprehensive plan amendment?
Sure, that's fine. So I move that the board forward to the Act 30 amendments to the Cary Community Plan to Town Council with a recommendation for approval to amend the comprehensive plan as proposed.
Someone second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments with that, Joe?
No, like I said before, this obviously development that's needed and bringing these things up to speed, and I do find it consistent with the plan. So hence the motion.
Andy, any comments?
Yeah, I concur. No additional comments.
Any other comments from any board members on that? I didn't think so. In that case, all in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, so that carries unanimously. Would someone please make a motion for the actual 22 REZ 15 Swift Creek Elementary rezoning?
Sure. I move that the board find 22 REZ 15 amendments to the Land Development Ordinance to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and all other applicable plans for the reasons set forth in the staff report, presentation, and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Second.
Did we say that correct? Okay. Thank you both. Any comments, Mike?
No further comments.
Any?
No.
Any other comments from any board members? Okay, having said that, we now take a vote. All those in favor of the motion that's on the table, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that also carries unanimously. I don't think we have any other business tonight. And therefore, having no other business, I think we can conclude, and I hope everyone has an awesome holidays. Stay safe.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a production of Cary TV. Visit the Town of Cary's website at townofcary.org.